All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something pretty fundamental.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that kind of touches every aspect of our lives.
It really does.
Yeah.
From our closest relationships to some of the biggest challenges we face at work, we're talking about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
EQ.
That's right.
And we really want to give you a clear and concise guide to understanding and using this crucial skill.
Absolutely. We want to cut through all the noise and give you actionable stuff you can use.
Right away. So to really get a grip on why this is so important, think about this.
Okay.
Our sources suggest that only about a third of us, like 36%, can absolutely pinpoint our emotions as they're happening.
Wow.
That's a pretty big blind spot we might be carrying around.
Yeah, right.
So let's dive into the first key area, self-awareness. What does it really mean to be self-aware?
Well, when you boil it down, self-awareness is about really getting what makes you, you. You know, it's like your internal compass. When it's working right, you can navigate life's challenges with more purpose, more intentionally.
I like that. Internal compass.
Yeah.
So what are we looking for? What are the components of this?
It's about recognizing your strengths, what really drives you, what makes you feel fulfilled, and really importantly, those situations and interactions that tend to set you off, you know, your triggers.
Yeah.
It's not so much about uncovering these huge dark secrets.
Right.
It's more about an honest, straightforward look at how you work on the inside.
So that sounds a lot more manageable.
Right.
It's not like this huge, deep excavation project, just being real with yourself.
Exactly.
And it's actually pretty encouraging that even just starting to focus on self-awareness can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of that is how you see your emotional mistakes, I guess you could call them.
Right.
Instead of looking at them as failures, think of them as valuable beta points.
Oh, I like that.
They show you where you might need to tweak your approach.
Yeah.
They give you ongoing feedback as you move through life.
So those moments where we maybe don't react the way we'd hoped, they're actually opportunities to learn.
Exactly.
Okay, now there was this term, emotional hijacking, that really stood out to me. Can you break that down a little?
Yeah, emotional hijacking, it's basically when your emotions are so strong, they kind of bypass your rational thinking.
Oh, wow.
They take over and they dictate how you react.
Like an override switch.
Yeah, kinda. Neurologically, it's like the emotional center of your brain, the amygdala, is calling the shots instead of your more reasoned prefrontal cortex.
Interesting. So the stronger the emotion, the more it controls your behavior.
Right. The book uses this really vivid example of Butch Connor's run-in with a great white shark.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, talk about a situation that's going to trigger a huge emotional response.
Yeah, a shark attack? Okay, I think that gets the point across. So how do we take all of this, all this understanding and become more self-aware in our everyday lives?
Right. Hopefully without any sharks involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are a bunch of practical strategies we can pull from the book.
Okay, great.
The first one is to stop thinking of your feelings as good or bad.
Okay.
See, all emotions, even the ones that make us uncomfortable, they're carrying information.
So not good or bad, but information.
Right. Try to approach them with curiosity, like you're observing a signal, instead of jumping to judgment.
So instead of thinking, I shouldn't be feeling this anger, maybe the question is, what's this anger trying to tell me?
Exactly. Another important strategy is to look at the ripple effect from your emotions.
Okay, the ripple effect.
Think about how your emotional state affects the people around you. The book has this example of a manager who blows up at an employee.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the immediate impact is on that one person, right?
Of course.
But the fear that creates, the hesitation it creates, it can actually hurt the whole team's creativity and productivity in the long run.
Right.
Your emotions, they don't exist in a vacuum.
So our internal weather, it affects the whole environment around us. What's another strategy we can use?
Lean into your discomfort.
Okay.
Growth often comes from exploring those emotions that you'd rather just avoid.
So don't run away from the tough stuff.
Right. And also, feel your emotions physically.
I mean by that.
Our minds and bodies are super connected. Pay attention to any physical sensations you get when you're feeling a certain way,
Okay.
like a knot in your stomach, a racing heart, shallow breathing.
Yeah, I can see that.
This physical awareness can be a direct link to understanding what you're feeling.
That's interesting. For you listening, try this right now. Think back to a time you felt a really strong emotion. Can you remember any physical sensations that went along with it?
Yeah.
It's a subtle but powerful way to connect with what's going on inside. Okay, what else?
Okay, so Know who and what pushes your buttons, figure out your triggers, those people or situations that always seem to get a big reaction out of you.
Right, identifying those triggers.
Yeah. And watch yourself like a hawk.
Ah,
Practice consciously observing your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors as things are happening.
okay, watch yourself. How do we do that?
It's like taking a step back to get a clearer view of your own reactions in real time.
So creating a little distance in the moment to
Yeah.
gain some perspective.
Exactly.
What else?
Keep a journal about your emotions.
Okay.
Writing down your feelings can help you remember them, but it can also help you see patterns and triggers over time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Also, don't be fooled by a bad mood. Negative moods can really distort how you see things, make things seem way worse than they are.
Right, yeah.
And on the flip side, don't be fooled by a good mood either.
Oh, interesting.
Even positive emotions can sometimes cloud your judgment.
So it's not just about being aware of the negative stuff, it's about recognizing how all our emotions can mess with our thinking.
Exactly. Another important thing is to stop and ask yourself why you do the things you do. Dig into the reasons behind your emotional reactions. Ask yourself some tough questions like, have I been in a similar situation before where I reacted this way? Or what specific thing triggered this feeling?
So it's about becoming an investigator of your own emotions and actions.
Precisely.
I like that.
Okay, what else?
Visit your values.
Okay.
Be clear about what you truly believe in, your core values, and then check in regularly to see if your actions and reactions are lining up with those values.
Okay, values check.
Yeah. Check yourself, too, by paying attention to your appearance and demeanor, how you're coming across to others.
How we present ourselves.
Yeah. And this one might sound a little different. Spot your emotions in books, movies, music. Art can be a powerful way to see and understand your own deeper feelings by watching them play out in stories and characters.
So it's like finding echoes of our inner world in those external stories.
Exactly. And maybe one of the most insightful things you can do is seek feedback.
Oh, feedback, yeah. Actively ask trusted people, friends, colleagues, mentors for their input on your behavior and how it affects them.
Right.
Their perspective can help you see your blind spots.
That's so valuable.
And finally, get to know yourself under stress. Pay attention to how you react in tough situations.
Okay.
Those moments often reveal your default emotional patterns.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so we've covered a lot on self-awareness.
We have. That was a lot to digest, but it's so helpful. Now, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. Self-management. How does self-management connect to self-awareness?
So self-management is basically what you do with that awareness of your emotions.
Okay.
It's about using that understanding to stay flexible and steer your behavior in a positive direction.
Okay.
It's about managing your reactions to different situations and people, and it really depends on having a solid foundation of self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't recognize.
That makes total sense. You got to know what's happening inside before you can try to control it.
Yeah.
Our sources talk about how fear can be paralyzing. How does self-management help with that?
Yeah. So when that paralyzing fear starts to cloud your judgment, self-management is about recognizing that fear without letting it take over completely. It's about tolerating the uncertainty while you step back, process your emotions, and look at your options instead of just reacting out of panic. The book uses these examples of Disan L, an IT consultant, and me S, a regional sales director, to show what a lack of self-management can look like.
Yeah, those are pretty eye-opening. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So Jason's colleagues, they said that when things got stressful, he would react really quickly and not always in the best way, with harsh words. And his emotional responses, they were actually making things worse for the whole team.
Oh, wow.
They wished he'd just take a moment to collect himself before responding. His reactions were creating all this unnecessary tension.
I can see that.
May, on the other hand, she was having trouble keeping her own stress and negativity from infecting her team. Her staff felt the weight of her unhappiness, and she struggled to acknowledge and celebrate their successes, which led to a pretty negative work environment.
So both of those are really clear examples of how unmanaged emotions can spread outwards and affect everyone.
Yeah, they really highlight the real-world consequences.
So what can we do about it? What are some things we can do to get better at self-management?
One of the easiest and most effective things is to count to 10.
Really?
Yeah. When you feel yourself getting worked up, take a deliberate pause, breathe deeply, and count to 10 in your head. It gives you a chance to calm down before you react impulsively.
It's like classic advice we got as kids, but it works.
It does. Another good strategy is to create an emotion versus reason list.
What's that?
When you're facing a tough decision and your emotions and your logic are pulling you in different directions, make 2 columns. In one column, list what your emotions are telling you to do. In the other, list what makes sense logically.
Okay, so you can see both sides clearly.
Right. This can help you see where your emotions might be clouding your judgment and where logic might be ignoring important feelings so you can make a more balanced decision.
It's about bringing both our heart and our head to the table. What else?
Make your goals public.
Interesting.
Telling other people what you're trying to achieve creates a sense of accountability.
Okay.
It can give you extra motivation to stick with it, even when things get tough emotionally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another one, sleep on it. When you're dealing with a situation that's really emotionally charged, give yourself some time to cool off and gain perspective. Come back to it after a good night's sleep.
There's definitely truth to that saying about not making big decisions when you're tired or upset. What else?
Okay, this one might sound a bit odd, but smile and laugh more. Research actually shows that smiling, even if it feels forced at first, can trigger a positive response in your brain. It can help counteract negative emotions. There is a study where people were tricked into smiling while reading comics, and they actually found the comics funnier.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It is.
The idea that our physical actions can actually change our mood.
Exactly. Here's another one. Set aside some time each day specifically for problem solving.
Okay.
Choose a time when you can think clearly and calmly to tackle your challenges instead of trying to do it when you're already feeling stressed and emotional.
That's a good idea.
Manage your self-talk.
Oh, yeah, that inner critic.
Become aware of that voice in your head. Notice how negative self-talk can sabotage your efforts to manage yourself. Actively work on making that inner voice more positive and realistic.
It's amazing how much that internal dialogue can affect us.
It really is. And don't underestimate the power of rest. Clean up your sleep hygiene. Good sleep is essential for patience, flexibility, and alertness, all of which are super important for self-management.
Sleep really is the foundation of so much, isn't it?
It is. Establish a regular sleep schedule, get some sunlight in the morning, create a relaxing bedtime routine.
Right.
Avoid caffeine and alcohol close to bedtime, and don't eat big meals right before you sleep. Exercise is good, but not too close to bedtime.
Good sleep tips.
Another thing, focus on what you can control, not what you can't.
Okay.
Even in situations where you feel limited, you always have a choice in how you respond. Focusing on what you can control can help you stay empowered and adaptable.
I like that.
Learn from your mistakes.
Right.
See setbacks as chances to grow, not as failures. Practice being present. Try not to dwell on the past or worry too much about the future. Focus on managing your emotions in the here and now.
Being present is so challenging sometimes.
It is. And lastly, take care of yourself physically. Your physical health and your emotional well-being are incredibly intertwined.
Right.
Do things you enjoy, exercise, yoga, get a massage, spend time in nature. All these things can boost your ability to regulate your emotions.
That's a really comprehensive toolkit for self-management. It addresses both our inner world and our actions in the outside world.
Exactly.
So now let's shift to the social aspects of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Social awareness. What exactly does it mean to be socially aware?
Social awareness is all about being able to accurately pick up on other people's emotions and understand what's really going on in social situations.
Okay.
It means being able to sense their thoughts and feelings, even when they don't say them out loud. It requires you to be present, pay attention, and really absorb the information that others are giving you, both verbally and non-verbally.
So it's like tuning into the unspoken language of human interaction.
Exactly.
The book gives us this great example of Maya S., an organizational development executive who apparently has really high social awareness. What makes her stand out?
Maya was consistently praised by her colleagues for her ability to pick up on underlying issues that people weren't talking about directly.
Interesting.
She was really good at acknowledging others' feelings, even when she had to deliver tough news.
Wow.
And she was able to adjust her communication style to help people reach positive solutions. She was also known for being a fantastic listener.
So she was really attuned to those subtle emotional currents that run through our interactions.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, we have the examples of Craig C., the attorney, and Rachel M., the project manager, who struggled with social awareness. What were some of the issues they faced?
Crick's colleagues often felt like he wasn't really listening to them. He seemed more focused on his own thoughts and opinions. He often came across as uninterested in their ideas, and he had trouble communicating his own ideas in a way that resonated with them. Rachel, as a project manager, was so focused on the technical details that she missed the human side of things. She didn't pick up on cues about the team's morale or the shifts in opinion, which led to frustration among her colleagues.
Right. So in both cases, they weren't really seeing the whole picture.
That's right.
So how can we improve our own social awareness? What are some practical things we can do?
Well, one simple but powerful strategy is to greet people by name.
Okay.
It shows that you recognize them as individuals and strengthens your connection with them.
Right.
Watch body language.
Okay.
Pay attention to those nonverbal cues like facial expressions, posture, gestures. They often reveal emotions that people aren't saying out loud.
It's like a whole secret language we're all speaking.
It is, and timing is everything.
Oh, yeah.
Be very aware of when you ask sensitive questions, give feedback, or bring up difficult topics.
It can make a huge difference.
It can. Choosing the right moment can really impact how your message is received.
So true. It's easy to create unnecessary tension by saying the wrong thing at the wrong time.
It is. Here's another tip. Have a few back pocket questions ready.
Back pocket questions.
Yeah. Have a couple of open-ended, neutral questions you can use to break awkward silences and show genuine interest in others.
Good idea.
And try not to take notes at meetings.
Oh, interesting.
Instead of trying to write everything down, focus on observing people's faces, their body language, and the overall dynamics in the room.
You'll probably pick up on way more valuable information that way.
Absolutely.
That might be tough for some people who are used to documenting everything.
It might be an adjustment, but it's worth it. Plan ahead for social gatherings.
Okay.
Before you go into a social situation, think about your goals for the interaction and anticipate potential conversations.
Okay.
This can help you feel more present and less stressed in the moment.
It's like having a game plan.
Yeah, sort of. Clear away the clutter, minimize internal distraction like your own thoughts or planning what you're going to say next.
Right.
So you can really focus on what others are communicating.
That makes sense.
And live in the moment. Practice being fully present in your interactions to really notice those social cues as they happen.
It's so hard to be truly present sometimes, especially with all the distractions we have these days.
It is, but it's so important for developing social awareness. Here's a fun one. Go on a 15-minute tour.
A tour.
Yeah. Take a walk around your workplace or wherever you are with the intention of observing people's moods, their interactions, even the vibe of their workspaces.
Okay.
It gives you a broader sense of the social landscape.
I like that.
Watch EQ at the movies.
Oh, it's fun.
Analyze the characters' expressions and social interactions.
Okay.
It's a good way to practice your observational skills in a low-pressure environment.
That's a really creative idea.
It is. Practice the art of listening. Give the speaker your full attention. Don't multitask. Don't interrupt. Really focus on understanding their message.
Be present.
Exactly. Go people watching.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Observe social interactions in public places like cafes or parks to learn more about nonverbal cues and how people interact naturally.
It's fascinating to just watch how people behave in those settings.
It is. Understand the rules of the culture game.
Okay.
Be aware that different social groups and workplaces have their own unspoken rules and expectations.
Right, these unwritten norms.
Exactly. Learning those can help you navigate interactions more effectively.
Yeah, every group definitely has its own set of unwritten rules.
They do. Don't be afraid to test for accuracy. Ask clarifying questions to make sure you're understanding other people's emotions and intentions correctly. It's better to check than to assume.
Right.
Step into their shoes.
Yeah.
Consciously try to see things from their perspective.
Right, build that empathy.
Exactly. Seek the whole picture. In social situations, consider all the information and viewpoints before jumping to conclusions. And finally, catch the mood of the room.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the overall emotional atmosphere and energy levels in a group setting.
That's incredibly helpful. So much we can do to improve our social awareness.
Absolutely.
And now we reach the final pillar of emotional intelligence, relationship management.
Yes.
This is about more than just understanding emotions. It's about putting that understanding into action.
Exactly. Relationship management is about using your awareness of your own emotions and the emotions of others to manage interactions successfully,
Okay.
to build strong, lasting connections. It's about recognizing that maintaining healthy relationships takes ongoing effort and skill.
It's not a one-time thing.
It's not. It's a constant process. And the book really emphasizes that relationship management is everyone's job.
Oh, interesting.
Whether or not you have a team reporting to you, it's crucial for everyone.
I like that.
So we have Couple more examples here.
Sure.
Dave M., a sales manager, and Natalie T., a floor supervisor, both face challenges in this area.
Right. More cautionary tales.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about those?
Sure. So Dave had a tendency to dismiss people he didn't connect with right away, and that really hurt the team's cohesiveness.
Oh, wow.
He also got defensive easily. Instead of thoughtfully responding to people, he'd often dismiss their ideas and concerns. Natalie often minimized the opinions of her team members, and she came across as blunt and lacking empathy.
Okay.
She unintentionally created a really negative and demotivating environment for her team.
So both of these examples show how damaging poor relationship management can be.
Exactly. It can really hurt morale and make it hard to work together effectively.
So what are some things we can do to build and maintain strong relationships?
We'll start by being open and curious. Share appropriate information about yourself and show genuine interest in getting to know others.
Okay.
When people feel understood, it creates connection.
Makes sense.
Strengthen your natural communication style. Think about the strengths and weaknesses of how you communicate,
Right.
and make conscious efforts to improve your interactions.
So it's about being aware of how we're coming across, being willing to adapt.
Exactly.
It's about being mindful of the impact of our communication.
Yes, and develop your listening skills. Practice active listening, really showing that you're engaged and interested in what others are saying.
Okay.
Master the art of conversation repair. Learn how to navigate disagreements and resolve conflicts in a constructive way. Match your tone and body language to your words.
Oh, that's a good one.
Make sure your nonverbal communication is consistent with what you're saying to avoid sending mixed messages and build trust.
Being consistent in how we communicate is so important for building strong relationships.
What else? Remember the little things, simple courtesies like saying please, thank you, and I'm sorry.
Right.
These small gestures can go a long way in how others perceive you and the relationship.
Yeah, they make a difference.
Build trust. It takes time and consistent positive interactions to build trust. And be reliable and act with integrity.
Okay.
Here's a good one. Only get mad on purpose. Learn to manage your anger and express it intentionally and appropriately.
So don't just react in the heat of the moment.
Right. Use anger as a tool, but use it wisely. Don't avoid difficult conversations. Address those challenging issues directly instead of letting them fester and potentially harm the relationship.
And I think that's one a lot of people struggle with.
It is. Nip conflict in the bud. Deal with small disagreements and misunderstandings before they become bigger problems. Acknowledge the feelings of others, show empathy and validate their emotions, even if you don't agree with their perspective.
Right.
When you care, show it. Express your appreciation and thoughtfulness through your actions, not just your words.
Actions speak louder than words. What else?
Explain your decisions, don't just make them. Give context, provide rationale, especially for decisions that affect others.
Oh yeah, transparency is key.
It is. Transparency builds trust and understanding. Offer feedback and be open to receiving it.
Okay.
Develop your skills in giving constructive feedback that people will actually listen to, and be receptive when you're on the receiving end.
Right, feedback is a two-way street.
It is. Make it okay to make mistakes. Create a supportive environment where errors are seen as opportunities to learn and grow, not as something to be punished.
That's so important.
Give clear expectations.
Right.
Make sure people understand what's expected of them to avoid confusion and frustration.
Okay.
Align your intentions with your impact. Be aware of how your words and actions affect others. What you intend might not always be how it's perceived.
That's such a crucial point. We need to be aware of how our actions land on others, regardless of our intention.
Absolutely.
Okay, what else?
Practice forgiveness.
Right.
Let go of grudges and resentment. Holding on to negativity only hurts you and the relationship. Be accountable. Take responsibility for your actions and their impact on your relationships. Keep in touch. Make an effort to maintain connections and follow up after important conversations. Build a strong support network. Cultivate positive relationships that provide you with personal and professional support. And finally, be a team player. Contribute positively to group efforts and collaborations.
Wow, that was incredibly comprehensive. So much we can do to navigate the complexities of building and maintaining strong relationships. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture when it comes to emotional intelligence. What are some overarching takeaways?
The book emphasizes this concept of plasticity.
Plasticity?
Yeah, it's basically the brain's amazing ability to change and form new connections throughout our lives through practice and experience.
So our brains aren't fixed, they can adapt and grow.
Exactly.
That's pretty empowering.
It is. It means that your EQ skills aren't set in stone. You can develop and improve them if you put in the effort.
So it's not like you either have it or you don't. We can all get better at this.
Absolutely. The book also talks about some interesting trends in EQ.
Okay, like what?
Well, one thing is that since around 2003, men have basically caught up to women in terms of self-management skills,
Oh, interesting.
which could be due to changing social norms.
That makes sense.
Self-management skills also tend to improve with age and experience, which is encouraging for younger folks.
Good to know.
They've got time to develop those skills. The book also highlights the growing importance of EQ in our global economy.
Right.
And it points out something pretty surprising.
What's that?
CEOs and senior executives, on average, tend to have lower EQ scores than people in other roles.
Really? That's unexpected.
It is. It makes you think about what skills have traditionally been valued in leadership and whether emotional intelligence has been given enough attention.
Yeah, it definitely raises some questions about how we develop leaders.
It does.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, what's the core message about emotional intelligence that you hope our listeners will take away?
Well, the bottom line is that emotional intelligence is a complex but learnable set of skills that include self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And the great news is that all of these can be improved through focused effort and practice.
And we hope this deep dive has given you a solid foundation for understanding these concepts and equipped you with a bunch of practical strategies you can start using right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We really encourage you to experiment with some of these strategies and see how they impact your life.
That's great. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just take a minute to think about which strategies really resonated with you and how you might use them to create positive changes in your personal and professional life. We encourage you to dig deeper into those strategies that stood out and see how you can make them a part of your everyday routine.
That's a great takeaway. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.